Good evening, this is news.PH, but it's not politics as usual. I'm Pia Ontiveros. It cannot be just politics as usual. This is the call of the times, to find people who epitomize what servant leadership truly means. And we found it, albeit belatedly, in Jesse Robredo. And then we lost him so suddenly in August. The kind of man Jesse Robredo was, and the impact his passing had on all of us and on Philippine politics, the standards by which we hold our leaders up to. This was one of the biggest political stories of 2012. This is what we talk about tonight.
Si Jess, all through his life, parati niya sinasabi na kung anong nakatakda, yun yung mangyayari. When the accident happened, maluwag sa kalooban kong tanggapin na yun yung nakatakda para sa kanya.
Our guest tonight, Attorney Lenny Robredo, the widow of Secretary Jesse Robredo, and also the Liberal Party's candidate for Congress in the 3rd District of Camarines Sur, and Transportation and Communications Secretary Joseph Emilio June Abaya. June was one of Sec Jess's close friends and served as one of his pallbearers. June is one of the rising young stars, of the Liberal Party, and serves as its acting executive vice president. Good evening, Ma'am Lenny, Attorney Lenny, and Sec June. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, Pia.
Ma'am Lenny, Attorney Lenny, let's begin with you. 100 days since Secretary Jesse's death. Do you still wonder about what his purpose in life and in death was?
Actually, Pia, it already became apparent to us even during the wake. We were surprised by the reaction of people, not only to his death but also to his life. We think people are hungry for the kind of leadership that he showed. People were actually looking for simple leaders who really epitomize servant leadership. So we think that people were drawn to him because he embodied that kind of leadership. And people were really honoring him because they saw in him the kind of leaders they would want to have.
And are people going to have that kind of leadership?
I believe so. Even during his life, Jesse always believed that there are many like-minded people like him in government. Kung hindi nga siya namatay, Pia, parang hindi din na-discover na maraming tao that such a leader existed. I think there are many others like him. Kailangan lang talaga makilala.
Okay. And you know them? You know who they are?
Yes. Secretary June Abaya.
And you're not saying that just because he's seated to your
definitely
left?
not.
Okay. Secretary June, at that point when you in the Liberal Party realized that Secretary Jess was gone, what were your thoughts in answer to the question why? I'm sure this was not just something political to you, this was entirely personal, no? So why? Why ang tanong?
Yeah, when we first got the calls, the text messages that he was missing, of course we attended to that, trying to help out in the search and rescue operations. But after we found time to sit and wait, in fact I could distinctly remember I texted Secmar, and I told him, I know I don't have any right to ask this question, but why Sec Jess? Meaning, but not to demean others. How we wish that some could have gone ahead of him,
that same question, yeah.
But now it becomes more apparent. Probably the greater plan from above is to highlight his leadership. It's not who goes first or who goes last, but who is indeed remembered at the right time. And this is, looking back, it's a right time to remember great people.
So this was God's way of letting people know, letting the people let government know about what kind of leadership we want.
Yes, exactly. It's as I've said, there are greater plans that we don't know, and we just figure out the wisdom after.
Did you think in terms also of the party, of the Liberal Party, na naku, ano mangyayari sa atin ngayon, parang ganon?
Well, sa akin personally, I was still getting to know Sec Jesse. When I'm fairly new in this ball game, I got to know him more when he became a secretary. There were problems within the party, within his department that we were also trying to solve together. Ako mismo, I was really looking forward to engaging him more. I knew I had a lot of things to learn from him. And in fact, I could already see that after my term, whoever would follow my steps, I'll make sure that he gets a good training time with Sec Jesse. But I'm also at the shorter end of the stick. I lost the opportunity to know more about him and to know how to genuinely serve the people.
What is it like now having to live up to people's expectations, diba? Kasi kanina nga sabi ni Attorney Lenny, people want that brand of servant leadership.
Well, it is good because now people are aware that a certain standard has been set in what the President is doing and what Sec Jesse has shown throughout these years. Hopefully now becomes the minimum standard, and people should expect that from all public servants. And anyone who goes below that line, that level, should then be put to test or be questioned in the democratic process of elections.
Ma'am Lenny, do you think that the people's wish for that kind of leadership is waning at this time, or nandyan pa rin, malakas pa rin? Or do people still come up to you, talk to you, ask you questions?
I don't think it's really waning, Pia. If at all, mas lumalakas pa. I think marami kasing pumupunta sa akin, people I do not know, people who are not from our city, who would tell me, sayang at nawala siya, ganito yung hinahanap namin. So I think basta nalalaman lang ng tao that such a leader existed, mas malaki yung hope nila that there are others who still exist. Saka mas malaki yung hope na mas marami pang bobotohan na kagaya niya. I think it will be particularly important this coming elections. Parang sabi nga ni Sec June, parang may bagong standards na hinahanap yung tao na anyone na below that, hindi tatanggapin. So I hope this will continue long after yung euphoria ng kanyang life at death mawala na. I would like to hope na yung hunger.
Is it euphoria? Is it really euphoria? Or
Ako kasi parang ugali nating Pilipino, 'di ba? Parang pag may event na nangyayari, parang very euphoric after. Na sana hindi ganun. Sana hindi lang yung effect niya for a short period of time. Pero I would hope that yung lessons that people got from his life and his death would continue to be remembered kasi parang maganda kasing example yon. Hindi lang for people to make it as their standard for choosing leaders, pero for public officials din na ganun, to make them realize that this is the kind of leader that people would want.
Is there a way by which like we can institutionalize it or make sure, because baka magulat na lang tayo, like you were saying, hindi iboboto ng tao pag hindi abot dun sa standards. Paano kung may ma-elect nga na bagsak sa standards?
Well, tingin ko mangyayari yan. We just hope the expectancy or the level of service that the people will establish could make Jesse the unit of measure. Then, yung awareness na posible pala maglingkod ng maayos at matino sa ating pamalan, and we're seeing it, it's a possibility in the Philippine environment. Yun, like you, this is all part of empowering our people, of setting standards for public servants.
All right, we'll have to take a short break. We'll be right back. This is news.PH on the Solar News Channel.
Alam ko na he lived a full life. He fulfilled all his dreams. Just last Sunday, yung Sunday before this Sunday, nag-uusap po kami, na-delay yung flight niya sa airport. We were staying in the car, waiting for the plane to arrive. Nagkakwentuhan kami. Sinasabi niya, kotang-kota na ako. Sabi niya, wala na daw siyang panaginip para sa sarili niya. Sa mga anak niya na lang daw.
Brother June, paalala ko lang sa iyo. Tatay ko naging Secretary General ng ating partido, Monting naging Pangulo. Ako naman ay nauna sa iyong kapraso, naging Secretary General ng partido, naging Pangulo. Baka ikaw na rin ang susunod na magiging Pangulo?
Welcome back to news.PH on the Solar News channel. I'm Pio Ontiveros. My guests, Attorney Lenny Robredo and DOTC Secretary June Abaya. Don't worry, June, we won't ask you yet about the, the comment of the President. Ma'am Lenny, first. Right now, you're preparing to campaign for Congress. Are there any regrets at this point, or it's full steam ahead for you?
Oh, it's full steam ahead for me, Pia. When I decided to run, parang I embraced it already. Parang even if there were questions in my mind, if this was the right thing to do, I knew that I had to take full responsibility for everything. Kailangang manalo ako. Yun yung parati kong sinasabi sa sarili ko. Not only for my husband's sake, not only for the memory of my husband, pero sa mga taong umaasa. Umaasa na may pagbabagong mangyayari sa lugar namin. Parang nung tinanggap ko yung challenge, I knew that obligasyon ko to make sure na I would be able to continue with the legacy of my husband sa isang paraan na mas makakatulong ako sa mga tao sa amin. Parang yung feeling kasi left by Jessie's death, parang yung mga tao are very hopeful Parang they are very hopeful na mababago yung sistema. Yung sa amin kasi parang patronage pa din. Patronage politics. Parang they were
not in the city of Naga.
Not
no?
in the city of
The
Naga,
district,
but in the province of Camarines Sur. Not only in our district, but in the entire province. Parang sila very hungry din na magkaroon ng isang klaseng politika na pareho sa Naga. So I know that they are looking at me as an extension of my husband. Parati ko sa kanilang sinasabi na to lower their expectations.
Oh!
Oo, parati ko yung sinasabi.
Talaga?
I'm really very anxious about it kasi baka inaakala ng mga tao na kaya ko yung lahat na kaya ng asawa ko. Parati ko sa kanilang sinasabi na pareho yung paniniwala namin, pareho yung mga prinsipyo namin. Pero we are two very different people Parang marami siyang kaya na hindi ko kaya.
Like what?
Kaya i-manage yung expectations.
No, everybody thinks na kaya nyo.
My husband was mayor for 19 years. I was just a lawyer. Parang
Why just?
I work always in the background. Parang I do not have his experience. Parang I had my own advocacies, pero iba naman yung pinagdaanan niya sa pinagdaanan ko. Natatakot ako na baka yung tao, parang yung tingin nila sa akin, parang i-continue ko lang yung lahat na nirepresent ng asawa ko. So parati ko sa kanila sinasabi, pwede bang i-manage yung inyong expectations of me? Kasi yung mapapromise ko lang sa kanila is, pareho yung sinusulong namin na klase ng paniniwala, klase ng politika, mga prinsipyo, pero sana hindi nila i-expect from me yung lahat na kaya ng asawa ko, kaya ko.
What do your internal surveys tell you? I'm sure you have done something like that already.
Alam mo, very very encouraging. But then again, we also have to be realistic because the elections is 6 months away. So many things can still happen in those 6 months. So ako naman, I will do everything that I can. Basta nasa parameters lang yun ang parati nung tama. Parati akong very conscious na hindi ko masisira yung pangalan ng asawa ko. I think it would be a great disservice to him pag may ginawa ako na makakasira sa kanya. So parati ko naman sinasabi, maraming nagvo-volunteer sa aking campaign, pero parati ko sa kanilang sinasabi na yung klase ng politikang isusulong ko, yung politika din ng asawa ko. Parang parang servant leadership talaga. Ang iba kasi medyo natatakot kasi iba yung politika sa labas ng Naga. Pero sinasabi ko, if Jessie was able to change things in Naga, I am very confident that I will also be able to do that in our district.
Okay.
If I may interject.
Yeah. Before I ask you about that.
That's why I'm interjecting. No, I was just listening
Trying to distract me.
to
Okay.
Attorney Lenny
Yeah.
speak, and I could not help myself to compare her to President Cory, if not to embarrass Attorney Lenny.
And you should know, you were
I was an aide-de-camp for President Cory for 9 months. Actually, well, you see, we know Ninoy and President Cory, how it all started. But just listening to Attorney Lenny, she's actually assuming a post, running for a post, and hopefully she'll eventually assume it and take her oath, on a post much bigger than what Jesse was handling. Jesse was a mayor, Attorney Lenny is running for Congress. She said, I'm just a lawyer, you could say, I'm just a plain housewife.
Yeah.
And
Deja vu.
yeah, I just can't help but interject and mention that.
That's true. Well, let's talk about you. You know, that comment made by the president, that was in an LP proclamation
It was a
rally
proclamation
in
rally for the province
Cavite.
of Cavite for
Yeah.
Governor Maliksi.
Oo. Well, of course, 2016 is too far off, and alam naman natin, no, marami pang mangyayari, no, lalo na sa Philippine politics. No? But, tas konting cambio. How are you mahusay and matino in your department?
Well, I'm not saying I'm trying to be mahusay and matino. I could not for a fact say that I am. I'll be too presumptuous. I'm not a person to whom that statement would come from, but that's what we're trying and aspiring for. And at the same time, inspiring people within the bureaucracy that those should be the standards. And I've repeatedly said that my first order of the day is daang matuwid. Kung kayo ay sang-ayon dito at sasabay sa parehong kalsada, wala kayong problema sa akin. Pero kung ibang balak ninyo, shortcut, buluktot, then you'll have problems with me. And every time we get to talk to possible participants in the huge infrastructure projects of DOTC, I'd always say, I assure you of a level playing field. We'll have maximum competition and no under the tables, neither over the tables.
May ganon, may over the table. Lantarang ano.
Lantaran na, hindi naman natatagal.
Oo. You will be DOTC Secretary until 2016?
I'm not sure. I could be
You don't know.
replaced by tomorrow. So I work under the direction of the president. If he feels I'm a disservice to him, I could go anytime.
Okay. What were your thoughts when you heard the president say that in Cavite?
In all honesty, the sound system wasn't that nice from the stage's end. So I was getting to pick up some of the words. So I knew attention was going to come to me. And obviously, if you caught my reaction, I didn't take it seriously. As you know, the president is used to making jokes and making, well, sometimes fun of people.
Oh, that was his idea of making fun of you?
No. Well, we have a relationship. Of course, I always take it in jest. It's hard for those things to come into your head when you're serving the people. I mean, clearly, my ears are shut in those kinds of comments. My mission is clear. To make sure that we do well in the department.
You know, in July, Butch Abad kasi said that in an interview I had with him that it will be easier for another LP candidate, someone that the president will anoint to win. Is that still true today? No. So he said that in July, and then we lost Sec Jess in August. Is that still true today, given everything that's happened?
I think so, because the president, along with what Sec Jess has stood for, is setting a standard, a certain expectation. And hopefully this daang matuwid will now be established such that it would be difficult politically for whoever would follow the president to divert from this road. So it will set a path that it might be a political suicide to divert from this. And hopefully we'll never slide from this. Then, yes, it will be easier for LP because I think pretty much a lot of LP members and leaders are comfortable with this road and shouldn't be difficult to follow the straight and narrow path.
Is everyone on the roster of the Liberal Party on Daang Matuwid? Do they live up to the Robredo standard?
Well, we've grown as a party, to tell you honestly. No, I have no assurance that everyone who filed CONAS under LP are along that
CONAS
path.
are
Certificate of nomination and acceptance.
You're not sure that everyone who filed sa
Well,
LP?
we were rushed into it. There are
Yeah.
certain political realities. We have to feel the maximum network, but we've been very strict. We've deliberated on some. We have rejected some strong, but different-minded candidates. That will be obvious, and stories will eventually come out. But At the end of the day, whether they're on this path, our obligation, whether they win or not, is to convince them that the Daang Matuwid is the only path to take if you indeed want to be successful politically.
So you're hoping that they will be on the Daang Matuwid also? Ganun ba yun?
We'll work on them. If they'll have a hard time, then they could take the other path and join the other party. But we will work on them to stay on this path, but this is the right path politically.
All right. It's December already, next month, no? So syempre, we can't help but ask. And kung ang politika kasi paborito ng Pinoy, Pasko pa. So, Ma'am Lenny, can you tell us how are you and your girls going to spend Christmas?
Actually, Pia, hindi namin pinag-uusapan. Parang it is a deliberate effort on our part to just take each day as it comes. Walang conscious effort to really plan ahead. Parang Jessie's death taught us that you cannot really plan too far ahead. Parang in Christmas, maybe we will be spending it the way we used to spend it.
Naga?
In Naga, with
Christmas
the
and New
grandparents.
Year's. Christmas and New
Yes,
Year's. Okay.
yes. My parents are in Naga. Jessie's parents are in Naga.
Yeah.
Most probably, we will be spending Christmas and New Year's with them. There are no plans at all to take a break somewhere.
Yeah.
Yung palagay namin, mas malulungkot kami, Pia. So many people are suggesting that we go someplace. Parang
Naga is still your happy place, di
yes,
ba?
Oo. Palagay namin, mas malulungkot kami kung aalis kami ng Naga. Siguro aaliwin namin yung mga sarili namin. I think Jessie will be sorely missed during the holidays. Pero it is something that we're trying to get used to, nawala siya. Pero hindi namin pinapag-usapan. Actually, last weekend, yung mga anak ko dito sa Manila umuwi ng Naga. Nag-decorate na kami ng bahay for the Christmas holidays. It was a spur of the moment thing. Wala kaming balak. We just thought, anyway, andito tayo, lahat mag-decorate tayo. Parang trying to make easy yung sa isang sitwasyon na alam namin magiging mahirap.
Given his busy schedule when he was still alive, did Seth Jess help put up the tree?
Ay,
Yung
oo.
ganun? He did, no?
Yun
Siya nagkabit ng ilaw? Yung mga ganun.
Pia, he is really a very regular guy at home. Yung kinikwento ko nga during his wake, pag umuwi siya every weekend, talagang siya yung handyman sa bahay.
So, pag Pasko, ma'am, siya kasi yung ibang bombilya ng Christmas lights, pundido, di ba? Siya mismo nagpapalit.
Actually, Pia, parati niya akong pinapagalitan na tinitipid ko yung Christmas lights. Parati niya sinasabi sa akin na ang daming bahay na nasusunog. Dahil sa pagtitipid, mas grabe. Mas gusto niya yung Christmas lights. Masigurado. Actually, ayaw niyang pakialaman yung Christmas lights by himself. Parati siyang tumatawag ng electrician.
Okay.
Parati niya sinasabi na it will not be worth the risk yung pagtitipid namin sa Christmas lights.
Okay. Well, since we're talking about family, June, I have to ask you about family also. So what does your wife, Rhea, tell you about your having accepted the appointment as the OTC secretary?
Well, I'm sure she knew from the start that they will be the most affected sector in society by this assignment. So, well, just a friendly reminder from my best friend that at the end of the day, we have 3 little kids and balance things out and not to lose sight of certain important priorities in life.
How old are your kids?
They're 10, 9, and 7.
Ay, ang bata pa. Okay. So, you have not missed out on, I heard you are a soccer dad, math tutor, and movie buddy. You have not missed out on a soccer game, a recital, math lessons, and a movie.
I think you know my program for the weekend. This morning we just had a soccer game. So I was there in Colegio de San Agustin looking after the 2 boys. This afternoon will be a recital for my daughter. It's been years since I watched a real movie. Everything has been computer-generated animation. And thank God so far, despite all the briefings, I still get to take them to school every day. We're just one school bus dropping off and getting to work.
Well, you drive them?
No,
to school? You just take them to...
I have the privilege of also sitting down and reviewing them along the way.
Oh, okay. Ang sabi nga ni Rhea, ang mantra daw ninyo is to raise my children to be better than me.
Yeah, I've been repeatedly asked in our recollection for parents for their first Holy Communion. So that has been back to back, and they always have this standard question of asking, "What would you wish for your kids?" It was difficult for me, and what naturally came out was just to give them a life better than what I've had. So it's a natural for any parent.
Ma'am, when you think about your three daughters, of course they're much older than Sec June's kids. No? Do you think that way too?
Jessie thought that way too. Parati niyang sinasabi, Pia, na dapat yung mga anak ko mas maganda at mas progresibo yung buhay. Ano yun parang si Sec June, when he was still in Naga, he tried very hard to still bring the children to school and fetch them. Pag 5 o'clock talagang uwi siya ng bahay, magtuturo siya yung nag-tutor. Even when he was cabinet secretary already, yung youngest kasi namin parating math contestant. If there is a contest na kailangan mag-review yung anak ko, he feels guilty that he is in Manila and Jillian is in Naga. Gagawa siya ng mga answer sheets even during meetings.
Talaga?
And he would send them by email, sometimes by fax. Parati niya sinasabi na yung panaginip ko talaga para sa mga anak ko na lang. He has been forcing Aika to study again. Parati niya sinasabi na si Trisha gusto niya i-pursue yung dream to become a doctor. He never really forced the children to take courses that they didn't want. Pero parati niya sinasabi kung ano yung gusto niyo, sige, basta make sure that you excel in them. Parang parati niya yung sinasabi na okay na ako, basta makita ko yung mga anak ko okay na.
Kaya niya sinabi niyo,
Oo,
quote-unquote na ako, no?
Parati niya sinasabi yun, Pia, na for myself, wala na akong panaginip Lahat na lang para sa mga anak ko. So when he died, I told the children to just remember what their father had been always telling them. Kaya sabi ko dapat we should be okay because if we're not, baka hindi at peace yung papa nila. So sabi ko, kahit mahirap for all of us, kailangan na we should try to be okay. Parang andyan din lang siya.
So, well, let's end the show now, and I wanted to ask you both to define, can you actually define and live servant leadership, Sec June?
Well, trying to define it might be difficult. The closest you could get is to define it like Sec Jessie. Jessie Robredo would be a vivid and clear definition of it. But in public servants in general, for people running for the next elections, I guess just putting the people ahead of your self-interest and likewise having a mindset that you are willing to lose the election. Because sometimes people think it's all for nothing for them, that they take various kind of tactics, various kinds of means in order to achieve their ends. But at the end of the day, if it is not all for you, there's more to life than winning an elections, then I think you'll be better off as a public servant.
Ma'am Lenny?
Yung sa akin, Pia, yung servant leadership, parating servant first before becoming a leader. Parati ko yun, pag pinag-uusapan kasi yung servant leadership, I think yung pinaka-characteristic ng isang servant leader is empathy. Palagay ko, when you are able to empathize with your constituents, okay ka Pero yung empathy kasi requires a lot of things. Parang you should have listening skills. You should be aware of their needs. Yung sinasabi ni Sec June, mahirap yun to put them above all else. Parang mahirap yun for a leader, lalo na sa kultura gaya ng Pilipinas. Na pag sinabing leader, parang you are the one being served. Parang ang dali lang sabihin na I am a servant leader. Pero parang yung kultura kasi natin, nasanay tayo sa mga leaders na pinagsisilbihan. So napakahirap talaga na matutunan o you remain humble, you remain parang attuned to what your responsibilities really are. Pero if you are able to do that, palagay ko pwede kang tawagin na servant leader.
So empathy and humility. So you will still be taking the bus to and from Naga?
Yes, in fact,
Like
I
you
just
did.
arrived today.
Just arrived this morning.
In fact, Pia, 3 nights na ako nasa bus.
Oh,
I came over Wednesday night just for a speaking engagement. I went back home to Naga by bus Thursday night, and Friday night, I traveled again.
How many hours travel?
9,
Nine.
between 9 to 12 hours.
And you travel without a bodyguard, without
No,
security?
I travel with Jillian.
With Jillian. She's your bodyguard. Takot lang nila kay Jillian ngayon. Okay. And I guess you, June, Rhea and your kids will keep you grounded, no?
Oh yeah, definitely. They'll make sure I'll keep my feet on the ground. They'll always be there to remind me that I'm still their dad.
And Rhea's husband. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
but
go ahead. Sorry.
Now I'm looking at, although I'll miss Sec Jesse and the things that I've looked forward to learning from him, just listening to Attorney Lenny, probably I should text her more and pick up more from servant leadership. Admittedly, I could learn much from Attorney Lenny.
Yeah. Well, okay, I was also going to say that since we were talking about kids and family, you know, the power is fleeting. Kanina, you said, no, some people act like winning an election is everything. So it just occurred to me that power is fleeting and family is forever.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Okay.
They've
Thank you
always said
very
in
much.
the juggling, you always juggle balls daily. Make sure which ones are the glass balls and the rubber balls.
Which ones are the rubber balls?
Probably those outside of the family are the rubber balls.
The glass ball family.
Family, of course, work as a secretary. And, pretty much that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much for being here. Secretary June Abaya
Thank you, Pia.
and
Thank you.
Attorney Lenny Robredo. Maraming salamat po. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being with us. I'm Pia Ontiveros. This is news.PH. See you next Wednesday. Good night.
Chinela's leadership is about working on the basics, no frills, no kaartehan, something as uncomplicated and casual as the chinelas, but with a very, very clear vision. That was Secretary Jesse Robredo.